Okay, I have a question
Crazy.
for you because this is actually a question I've been discussing with someone really recently. But the Black Lives Matter protests, like, they received a wave of support all across the world, like so much attention. Like, obviously, Black Lives Matter as a movement has been going on for a long time now, right?
Mm.
But George Floyd and then the Breonna Taylor like incidents to come right after that, a lot of things were like brought to light, and there was a wave of support all over. And of course, we saw a lot of performative allyship and people just posting for the sake of, because supporting new things and being like woke and human rights active is the new like cool thing to do. So people were also just
Mm.
supporting for the sake of supporting. But nevertheless, while we got the fake supporters as well, is when there's power in numbers. So that's when you start actually trying to get the ball rolling, in my opinion. But regardless of all of that, like, I feel like now, like, the entire social media hype about Black Lives Matter and the entire media direction, and just, I know like there are certain cities in the US that are still protesting every other week, and still trying to raise awareness about these things and change stuff. But in terms of support, all of a sudden, or the conversation continuing, do you feel like the conversation is still being continued? I think that's what my question is.
Um, I feel like the question is like I'll get to the answer eventually, but it's like I have a question from that question. The question is like, was there like a real conversation ever going place?
Ever going on?
Was
Yes.
there ever like because like okay, I like what I have to say on this issue is like on one hand is like there's a lot of ignorance on one side,
Mm-hmm.
and like on the other hand, which is like something that I don't necessarily agree with, but like I understand like where the root of it comes from is like there's a lot of intolerance on your next side. So like with that thing that you said with like performative allyship is like a lot of people would rather just like or like just say it to seem as if they're down recourse to avoid getting scrutinized and stuff in society. And it's like people is like now gone to the point where it's just like one group of people like don't agree with it, and one group of people agree with it, and it's like they're just fighting each other, but no, like there's no actual discussion and there's no actual like dialogue, so it's just like we are right and this is why we are right, and the other side are like no, you're wrong and this is why we are right, and it's like like basically zero tolerance on either side, so there's never going to reach a middle ground. I see that way. If I'm gonna be honest with you, I feel like a lot of people are not actually a lot of people are not ready for real change, because at the end of the day, for something to like you cannot change the system that exists while operating in the system. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Like and that's the thing, bro. Like people don't understand that like if if like real like actual change like on a society level is to really happen, like a lot of people are going to have to make big sacrifices. It's like, are you willing to not go into your job? Are all black people in America willing to never vote again? But like that's shit like that now is all black people in America never gonna sign up to be police officers anymore? Like are all of you guys gonna leave your corporate jobs? Like realistically, no, bro, because people are already like so intertwined into the system. Like so that's how I look at it. It's like I don't see any actual change happening. Like bro, people have been marching for 5 months
Yeah.
to like not even get the officers arrested, bro. Just for the city to give them some money to shut this chick up. And this for one person, bro. This for one person that got shot in their house sleeping.
Yeah.
And like, bro, how much protesting is gonna have to go on for that to happen or not? Like, do you know how many people died? Like, if that was the case, bro, how many protests should there be for people that died at Breonna Taylor's protest? How many protests there should be for
Yeah.
people that died at George Floyd's protest? It's
Yeah.
like people like actually have to be able to like work together and sacrifice like literal like sacrifice, like, you know, to the point where you could actually lose something from it. But
Yeah,
people don't want to lose anything.
but
People want
it's not.
to
I think the
people want to
perspective
protest
should not be.
comfortably.
I think the perspective should not be like, I don't think people are conscious. People are like, oh, I finally have a seat at the table, but they're not conscious of, okay, because I have a seat at the table, who's not getting a seat? Like, no one
Exactly.
asked that question, you know, and that's a really important question to ask, because at the end of the day, like, everybody's trying to climb up the social ladder in life where success is deemed by what society has deemed successful. But you've got to ask yourself, like, compromise comes in different ways, right? Compromise comes in you realizing that success is not what society deems as right. Success is not how we should be viewing things. And more than that, like, coming back to the Black Lives Matter movement, the reason, like, obviously the entire wave, and I think it was emotional for, like, for Black people 150%, but I think for a lot of people as well, because, like, we live in a world now where every single violent crime has the opportunity of being telecasted live. It's a video. It's available for everybody to go and see. Like, that's so messed up. You know what I mean? Just that entire
Hmm.
aspect of it. But because of that, the outreach is crazy. Like, you are getting support from parts of the world that maybe would have never turned around to look at issues like this prior to that. So I think the support, yeah, has been magnificent and it's been great. But I feel like the conversation lacks direction. um,
Exactly.
I feel like the conversation lacks direction because everyone is obviously sensitive around how to go about it. But then even those that are willing to take the torch and paint it in a particular way, like you said, and which I think completely stems from, I get it. I get why people are angry. I get why the Black population is fed up, frustrated, tired. They've been having the same conversation for how many
Hmm.
years now? Like, how many bloody
Intolerance.
years? Yeah,
That
so I
makes sense.
understand it. I completely get it. Like, you've got to look at it from their perspective, and they've been coming at this for a long time. So, but it's come to a point where sometimes I'm listening to my white friends talk about shit, and I'm like, I don't think you get it. Like, I really don't
A
think you.
lot of them don't get it, bro.
Yeah,
That's the
like, you've
thing,
learned
bro.
about this maybe, or like maybe you read a book, but I don't think you understand. Like, I really don't think you understand how deeply your supposed forefathers' actions still have a ripple effect on the current generation and the generation to come, unless conversation is changed today. But I don't know because it's about, I don't know, man, because
But
it comes back down to the system, right? And we've agreed that we don't
yeah,
want the system. So who's going to break the system and rebuild a new one? Like, we're
exactly.
not pinpointing the right people who are at that position on that scale, like politicians, policy writers.
Like, yeah, bro. It's like, what is the like? Who's the leader of the Black Lives Matter movement? Like, who's the person you associate with that? Like, they aren't even like, bro. When you think about the civil rights movement, bro, they're like certain people. Like, even if they don't all agree with each other, bro, at least they're like certain, like, you know, definitive standpoints. You know, like there's
Yeah,
Malcolm X. You know what Malcolm X thinks.
yeah.
You know, by any means necessary. Then
Mm-hmm.
there's the um the white godfather Martin Luther King
Martin Luther
Jr.
King
Their
Jr.
favorite person to quote, although they killed that man.
Yeah,
They seem to forget, like, oh yeah, he was so peaceful, but you all still killed him.
yeah,
And then, you know, there's like Maya Angelou.
yeah.
No, is it Maya? Okay, yeah, it's Maya.
Is
No,
my
I'm thinking Angela Davis. That is who
Angela
I was thinking of.
Davis. Yes.
That is who I was thinking of. Sorry. And then there's like Stokely Carmichael.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, but like all these people had, like, like like, what, like, what they're trying to do, bro. I feel like this, like, now is literally like, but like, I even see a lot of white people doing it, which even annoys me too, bro. It's like they're trying to keep like every single little detail, like, oh, you, like, I don't know, you're black, you're half black, but like you don't look black enough to wear braids and shit. Like, bro, who cares? What is that going to change in anything? Like, what is that really going to do for us as a society? Honestly. And then what? When the society changes, like the thing is, I understand why black people like have that rhetoric, you know, because it's like, okay, it's not fair in the society because we get scrutinized for certain things white people do that we cannot do, all this kind of stuff, right?
Mhm.
If we're aiming towards equality, isn't that like kind of the opposite? Isn't that kind of going past it? Like,
Yeah.
how are they going to actually reach equality if that is not an actual realistic goal of equality, you know?
True. That's very true. At this point, I just think it's a.
But like, what I need to, sorry, I didn't mean to
No,
cut
no,
you
no.
off, but what I
Go
need
on,
to,
go on.
like, you know, emphasize is like understanding,
Mm-hmm.
like, where it comes from, you know, like understanding why certain actions or like, like the root feeling for like where that comes from is one thing, you know? And
Yeah.
like, I think it's like a lot of people like to, you know, a lot of people like to either bridge over that, you know, and be like, oh, like they have no reason to feel like that, you know, and shit like that. But that is not what I'm trying to say. It's like
Mm-hmm.
I understand what you're trying to, like, why you feel so and where it's coming from, but like if we're not acting on an emotional level, which is very hard to do because we're human, if you're just gonna look at just the plain like what you're trying to achieve, I don't see how that is going to achieve what people are trying to achieve. That's how I look at it.
Okay.
You know, it's like I don't know, bro. It's like okay, people are like they fund the police, but then they still want people to go to prison.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like people like abolish prison, but then they still like jail the cops that did this, and it's like and it like from if you want to be like okay, if we're looking at all the facts of what happens, it makes a lot of sense why you would say that, you know.
Yeah.
But then you have to understand that these two, like this feeling and your goal, are like basically opposite to each other, you know. So
It's true. It's true. But that's, I mean, that's the thing, right? The emotion, sometimes emotion blindsides, like the rage and your emotion, like blindsides the direction you're meant to be going in. And I think the emotion behind this entire cause is so engraved in people's DNA at this point, literally your DNA, that it's hard to fully direct a conversation to go where it needs to go when you've got such ignorant responses on the other end, you know. You've
mm-hmm.
still got people like South Africa shocks me. The like you would think apartheid is over, but you still have towns that are only dedicated to white people who you cannot be black and seen in that town. You've still got kids, you know, South African Afrikaans parents sending their kids to little like Afrikaans school, like military school, like the little kids to like talk about how like black people and racism and white people are superior and blah
Mm-hmm.
blah blah. You've still got mindsets like that being passed on to generations to come. That shows you how like those mindsets have taken over the generations who are teaching it to them. And it's come to a point where if we talk about, oh, change the system, it's literally rewriting history. That's what you're doing. That's what needs to be
Yeah,
done.
bro.
Because
Facts.
every single piece of knowledge that we have received, even, you know, you and I who may have gone through like the IB, which is supposed to be great perspective, more perspective than a regular education system, even all of that, it's all written by someone who was the oppressor rather than the oppressed. And until we get more narratives on for the same issue, we're never going to get past this fact of learning to be tolerant, learning to empathize, learning to understand. Like at this point, we have to break down society and humanity all the way to the context of how to not be selfish. Like